is probably the worst thing they can do. Now, some people can get away with it.
What's up? 筋肉翻訳です。さあ今日は朝食を抜いたら太る人、大丈夫な人の特徴見ていきましょう。朝起きてすぐ栄養補給していますか？もちろん1日に5、6食など栄養補給を徹底している人は抜くことなどないでしょう。でもまだ筋トレを始めたばかりの人や朝起きて数時間経たないとご飯を食べられないという人も多いと思います。こういった人の中ではそれが原因で筋肉がつかないという人もいます。そのことについてクリスチャンさんが話をしてくれています。どんなことが原因なのでしょうか？早速見ていきましょう。どうぞ。
Now, with the popularity of intermittent fasting, going against the age-old saying of skipping breakfast is the worst thing you can do if you want to lose weight, I often get the question, can skipping breakfast make you fat? Well, the answer is yes and no. It really depends on your profile, either hormonal or neurological. Some people can actually get a lot fatter by increasing cortisol if they skip breakfast. Some other people will not have that same negative drawback. Now, the one bad thing with skipping breakfast is that it can increase the release of cortisol. Now, in a normal human being, cortisol is higher in the morning. It's actually what wakes you up if you can wake up without an alarm clock. It's the raise in cortisol. Now, if you don't eat as soon as you wake up, then cortisol can just keep getting higher and higher. Understand that cortisol's main function is to mobilize stored energy. So if I'm not eating, I have to release the stored energy because otherwise I don't have any nutrients available for fuel. So if I'm skipping breakfast in the morning, then I'm continuing to release cortisol until I finally eat something. Now, if I'm a type that overproduces cortisol as is, like the neurological profile called hormone avoidance, people who are more introverted tend to be more anxious, tend to overthink, are great planners, they stress about many things, they overproduce cortisol. So if these people skip breakfast, then they will have a problem because they raise cortisol so high that it becomes pretty much impossible to build muscle. It also means that they can build more fat over a long run. Understand this. Cortisol, technically it's a mobilization hormone. So in theory, having higher cortisol levels should lead to greater fat loss because it mobilizes energy. That might be true in the short term, but in reality what happens is if your cortisol level always stay elevated, it can have several drawbacks when it comes to body composition. The first one, of course, making you lose muscle. But the other drawback is that cortisol, when it's elevated in the long run, it can decrease the conversion of the inactive thyroid hormone T4 into the active thyroid hormone T3. That means that cortisol over the long run can actually decrease metabolic rate by decreasing the T3 hormone. It can also decrease metabolic rate by decreasing muscle mass by being catabolic. So if you are prone to overproducing cortisol, you're someone who's anxious, someone who has a hard time as it is building muscle, then skipping breakfast will make you fatter, will make it hard to build muscle mass. So for these people, intermittent fasting like dieting is probably the worst thing they can do. Now, some people can get away with it. I'm not saying it's the best way to eat for them, but they can get away with it. People who are amazing at handling stress. People who are what we call novelty seekers, high adrenaline junkies, for example. People who thrive on contact sport. People who love mixed martial arts. Now, these people can probably get away with it because they have less tendency to produce cortisol. But it's still not the optimal way of eating, in my opinion. But for people who overproduce cortisol, people who have a stressful lifestyle, who are overly active, skipping breakfast will definitely have a bad impact on body composition.
さあ、いかがでしたでしょうか？寝起きはコルチゾール値が高い。ストレスや不安要素が強い人は朝食を抜くと太る。アドレナリン中毒者はまだ抜いても大丈夫。 とのことでした。この区分け方はとてもわかりやすいですね。内向的か外向的か。もちろんクリスチャンさんが言う通りベストな食事方法ではないと思います。でも朝食を抜く前に有酸素をすることなど減量の時に有効な手段になることもあります。使い分けが大事ですね。みんなは朝起きてからどのぐらいの時間で朝食を食べますか？コメント欄で教えてください。僕は起きてからだいたい15分前後でご飯を食べます。ここでみんなに質問です。もし僕が実際に海外に行ったらどんな企画、どんなものが見たいですか？コメント欄で教えてください。最後まで見ていただいてありがとうございます。感想や動画のリクエスト、チャンネル登録お待ちしています。ではまた。I won't think twice when you're gone. Don't hesitate to call me back, 'cause I won't